Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to talk on romantic age. Dear students, romantic age in the history of English literature is considered as the golden period because there were the emergence of the greatest poets of the world and the greatest novelists, essayists took birth in this period. This period is known for its famous poetry, prose, and essays. So, let us see the major things that had happened in this period that may be related to literature, that may be related to politics, or that may be related to social conditions of the period. As you all know that romantic age begins with the publication of lyrical ballads in the year 1798 by the famous writers called William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge. This romantic age is classified into three major periods. First one is pre romantic period, second one is romantic period, and third one is post romantic period. Dear students, as I already told you, romantic period is extended from 1798 to 1830. The Romantic Age is one of the most productive periods in the history of English literature. This period is a reaction against neoclassicism. Neoclassicism was meant for only urban culture, and nature was an insignificant thing to the neoclassical writers. Romanticism was marked with emphasis on individualism. Dear students, as you have already studied the age of Pope or 18th century literature, there were strict rules and regulations to be followed by the writers. A kind of suffocating atmosphere for the writers was there in the age of neoclassicism. And the logic and reason was given prime importance in neoclassicism. So, as a revolt against these all kind of odds and hurdles, Romanticism or Romantic literature took birth in the 19th century. So, when you see the reasons for the emergence of Romanticism, there are n number of reasons that we can see. The first one is the emergence of Romanticism coincided with the outbreak of the French Revolution of 1789. Means French Revolution took place in 1789. Liberty, freedom, and fraternity were the main mottos of revolutionaries of the French. So the Romantic writers were greatly influenced by the Rousseau's ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This period began with the publication of lyrical ballads in 1798 by Wordsworth and Coleridge. Romanticism is a strong reaction against industrialism because industrialism had affected greatly to the life of the common people. So, Romanticism made an appeal to protect the life of the common people. So, that is why we can say that it was a reaction against industrialism. It was also a revolt against aristocratic social and political norms of the age of enlightenment. So when we see romanticism as a movement, there are number of things to be noticed by you people. Romanticism was an artistic, literary, and intellectual movement. It got its birth in Europe towards the end of 18th century. This period extended from 1798 to 1840. Romanticism placed imagination over reason, emotions over logic, intuition over science. Because reason, logic, and science were the main features of neoclassical poetry, but Romanticism completely neglected those elements in its poetry. Imagination and emotions were the key elements of Romantic poetry. Romanticism replaced the static universal types of classical 18th century literature with more complex idiosyncratic characters. This movement saw, saw a strong emotion as an authentic source of aesthetic experience and placed new emphasis on such emotions as apprehension, horror, and terror. So, what are the reasons for the popularity of Romanticism? As you know, all that romantic literature became so popular. Everybody started literature during the age of Romanticism. What are the reasons which made so popular Romanticism? The Romantic writers gave more importance to rustic life, which was completely neglected in the period of Neoclassicism. They also gave importance to common people and simplicity of the language in their writings. They professed to be men speaking to men. They saw the decorum and ostensible denial of a fashion in neoclassical literature as an inhibition of a sort. They considered imagination is more important than knowledge. So here, romantic writers gave more importance to imagination and emotions rather than reason and knowledge. So, dear students, when you see the difference between romanticism and neoclassicism, we can notice certain things. The romantic writers gave importance to emotions and self experience in writing poetry or prose, whereas thought and reason governed the neoclassical poetry. There was no space for imagination and emotions in neoclassical poetry. The Romantic writers represented the personal feelings of the things which they saw and felt. At the same time, the neoclassical writers represented artificial life which was far away from common people. The Romantic writers gave importance to poetic eye, meaning the readers see the poet in the protagonist. But the neoclassical writers gave importance to I, where the reader sees the other person through poet's eye. It means subjectivity was given prime importance in romantic poetry. At the same time, objectivity was given more importance in the neoclassical poetry. The Romantic poetry dealt with nature, individualism, freedom, equality, but the new classical writers thought that human beings were the integral part of social organization and they are not an individual entity, which means they completely denied individualism, freedom, and equality in their poetry. At the same time, Romantic poetry gave more emphasis on individualism. The Romantic writers gave less importance to diction and more to the language used by the common people. It means Romantic writers did not care about the strict rules and regulations laid down by the classical writers. They, they went on writing using the simple language used by the common people. So that is why the Romantic literature became so famous. Whereas the neoclassical writers gave importance to diction, vocabulary, and grammar aspects. This is all about the Romantic age. Thank you.